Okay, so do we have any revisions to the agenda?
Yes, Gloria is asked to, we'll have two things to talk about when we get to Gloria's section on communicating with the media. She's going to tell us, actually, you would have seen an email about it, about the Community Advisory Board in Tucson and her effort to get on it. So that will be added to that. And then I will talk in the divesting section. I forgot to mention a 29th of April webinar I went to that I will tell you a little bit about, that kind of fits in the number 5, number 10, divesting, getting, anyway, so those are the two things. Anybody else?
Okay. So I'm going to count on you, Judith, when you talk, to remember to add on the other part, because I couldn't find what Cheryl was talking about to write it in there. So
Gloria's
oh, Gloria, I'm sorry. Excuse me. So do we have anybody new? I don't believe so. Short reports on your WILPF actions since the last meeting. If your topic is not on the agenda, which is very inclusive, and not to do with hot topics. Anybody got anything to say? Okay. Approval of the April 28th Disarm Committee meetings minutes. Does anybody have any changes to the minutes?
They were very good.
Like nobody sent me anything, and I didn't feel like I was, sometimes I really don't know. Like Martha, you said something at the previous meeting, April the 14th, and I still don't, and if you can go back and have a look, see, you said something I couldn't make sense of, but I felt it was deserved to be in the minutes. So anyway, but for the 28th of April, I didn't have anything like that. And you'll see that sometimes I'll just say a discussion ensued, because I don't believe in saying so-and-so said this and so-and-so said that. So it just, you'll see I say a discussion happened, okay?
Okay, so if there's no objection, we have approval of the April 28th 2024 minutes.
Thank you.
The next item is hot topics, which has has ABC. So the first is the Gaza-Israel war. Reports on what you've done to protest against Israel's attack in Gaza since April 28th. Including Cheryl's efforts to intercept Biden's motorcade. Have you joined any protests at your local university? Has your town passed any resolutions regarding Gaza? So, anybody got something to say? Well, Cheryl, I know you do.
Eileen put her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Eileen. I didn't see that. I apologize.
Yeah, I just snuck in. Thank you. Sorry I'm late. I've been at all right, a lot's going on. Our library in a very divided city of Newton, Massachusetts, our library has an exhibit by Skip Shiel, which has created such a commotion that a lot of pro-Israel folks were lined up around the library on Thursday. And I decided to talk with 4, 5, 6 of them and realize we're getting a lot of different pieces of information. So I am going in every day to the library with a sign on my chest. Are you sick of war? Can we sit, talk, and listen? And yeah, it is a little bit like what Ellen Thomas did on the White House lawn years ago. And I must say, I'm learning a heck of a lot. I am questioning the stuff I've been hearing. Of course, I question what they've been hearing. And we're trying to talk about this disinformation thing. And I'm going to finish the month off with 1 or 2 hours of doing this every day. And who knows, maybe I'll even get some membership to WILF. I don't, I'm not holding my breath on that, but since I would very much like to be more active in the membership stuff, I have been for a while. That's one thing going on here. I hope you got the video I sent out. When we vigil on Mondays, we got a request for maybe an interview from our cable TV, New TV. They interviewed us 2 weeks ago, and it got put on air this past Wednesday. I sent out some of this to a number of people, but not the whole Disarm list, I'm sorry to say. It presents well, and the focus is not on, as you would expect, Gaza and Israel per se. It seems to be more on peace and anti-nukes. I think it's worth trying, as other people have said on this program, our Zoom meetings for Disarm. Using local media is exciting. It's not that hard, but I was nervous as hell heck anyway. And it's working. I have something to put in we have a webpage here in Boston now. And I can share it to anyone who asks me, what are you up to? Well, 2 Wilfers were on in this little interview. So that's my update. Thank you.
Gloria, you had something, or Judith, I'm
No,
sorry, you had something you wanted to say back to Eileen?
Yeah, Eileen, I thought that was really clever idea about going to the library. Tell me what you did again. You wore a sign or you had a shirt on? What
I
was
always wear signs when I vigil, because I'm carrying one in my hand, have one on my front chest, one on my back chest, and then we stick one in the ground. Let me show it to you.
Okay. So they're not shushing you in the library? Is it part of the
No,
library?
this is an open room. People
Okay.
talk, it's an art gallery room.
Ah,
Okay,
okay.
it just says, are you sick of war? Let's talk and listen to each other. And people approach me.
do you hold it up or you wearing it?
I have
Look.
it
Okay.
like this.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I'm sitting at the back of the room. I'm not interfering with anything. And I bring my tripod chair cane, just in case that bench is occupied. And as I said, people are approaching me.
That's
And
great.
all ages. It's really cool. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, sounds interesting idea. Thank you.
The other thing that I do in between, and people are helping with this, I ask them, can you help me with my questions, the questions I'm asking me? Why am I sick of war? What are the causes of war? Who and how are people most affected by war, plus and minus? And how can we stop and prevent wars? I just, tune into one of those or all of the questions, depending on the conversation.
Do you record it?
I don't have the bandwidth for that, no. I had 2 recorders, and the little pocket ones that I used to use years ago.
You can use your phone.
Not me. I don't use a phone. That's,
You don't have a
aggravation.
smartphone?
I think it might, put people off if she wanted to record it. I think it's probably
And
better
I
not.
can't do that technology anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Cheryl, you have this.
Yes, well, I see the time going on. So I did send you all about my failed attempt to intercept Biden's motorcade because of his change of schedule, and then he went out a different way. But But you did see the picture of the enormous sign that we held. So thousands of cars passed us. That's a very wealthy part of Palo Alto and Portola Valley. So a lot of Teslas and BMWs and Lexuses and Porsches and anyway, and a lot of friendly honks, just a couple of nasty fingers. So, you know, this is, but other people in a different part of the road were there earlier, and he would have seen them. So, and then other people he went to the central part of Palo Alto, and other people would have seen them. Now, I got an email a few hours ago. Stanford University had an encampment, pro-Palestine encampment, for about 4 months. They put it down, they brought it back, you know, in the last couple of weeks. And they said, please come and defend our camp because there's going to be an Israeli Hindu group of people who are coming for a counter demonstration. So they were asking people to, you know, go over to Stanford University. So I don't know what happened because I didn't go. But the and Palo Alto finally, after many, you know, they have a weekly city council meeting. They finally passed a resolution that was really very weak. They would not ask for a ceasefire. They said that wasn't in their purview, but they did want, you know, they offered sympathy to both sides for the losses on both sides. And this was, you know, Palo Alto's discussed things so long in their city councils, and I had so many meetings. Anyway, so we did have something out of that.
Good.
Robin, you just came in, and where we are right now on the agenda, hi there, is the Gaza-Israel war and any actions that you've been involved in since April 28th. Do you have anything to announce? You're
As
still
timekeeper,
mute.
it's been 15 minutes, everybody. Try to be more succinct. It's been 15 minutes,
Okay,
actually 17.
the encampment up at UVM has been closed, but the successful aspect of it was that the UN ambassador to the United Nations is not invited to the commencement. In other words, Linda Greenfield is not going to come, so success.
And that was in the news. That was in Democracy Now!, right?
Yeah, so, but I'm telling you also.
Yeah, no, I'm glad. Thank you. Okay, the next item, unless somebody else has something to add to the Gaza. Okay, Ukraine. Cheryl wrote, "This war grinds on. What can we do to bring about a ceasefire? Russia is holding drills on tactical nuclear weapons." Anyone have anything that they would like to say? Gloria, please unmute yourself.
Yes, I want to put something in the chat because Northwestern University is hosting Annie Applebaum, who is one of the biggest cheerleaders for war in Ukraine, although she says she's moderating her position and it's very complex, but she thinks that it will be such a good thing when Ukraine wins. And this is a very lengthy interview with her. I don't know if it's on video anywhere, but it was in today's Northwestern University News Digest. And we need to know what these people who are the biggest cheerleaders and what are their arguments? And does she mention once the danger of nuclear war? Since I heard just today that Belgorod or whatever it is, that border city was hit by Ukrainian missiles into Russia.
Mhm.
I'm going to post it right now.
Yeah, and thank you. So, as you know, we're a member of the Peace in Ukraine coalition that's been going since March 2022, but we've been very quiet these last few months on account of the Gaza situation. Everybody who you know has been concentrating on Ukraine has turned their attention to the Gaza-Israel war. And so that is, so occasionally they'll put out a public statement, but all we can do is make the same pleas we are for a ceasefire and diplomatic end to the whole thing. Continue to write to your Congress people, is what I would say. So I think that's all we need to say at the moment.
Yeah, and please mention the New Yorker article, Mogelson's article, the one I mentioned last meeting,
What's the
April,
title?
New Yorker, called the assault. It's excellent in describing that there's there's going to be no winners for this war. That's what
I
the
think it
people
was
on the ground are saying.
two meetings ago, I think.
Probably was, yeah. I
you could
keep on
put his-
bringing that up. I don't stop once I get a bug.
I can't imagine how to
The
s-
next one, we gotta move along because we're running slow. Diffuse nuclear war. Cheryl, do you want to talk about whatever we don't already know?
Yes, well, me and McGregor can speak about this. So there's that week, the 10th to the 16th of June, Diffuse Nuclear War, which is a coalition really, is trying to persuade people to hold events honoring peacemaking and whistleblowing. And I give you the where to go to find out ideas for your local branch or your local town. But in particular, through McGregor's efforts, we're there once a month. There's a different group, the Guadeloupe Catholic workers, who demonstrate in the afternoon on a Wednesday out at the same place against the same nuclear weapons. So we're going to join them because there hasn't been a launch. We don't see a launch coming up. So instead, but we want to keep the pressure on. We want to keep the media knowing about it. So on June the 5th, I will drive down from Palo Alto with Judy Adams from my branch and anybody else I can persuade from that area. McGregor will make her own way as usual by public transport. And we will join with the Guadeloupe workers, and there will be a microphone. So we will give short speeches so people can hear. And McGregor would like it all to be videotaped in a documentary style. I think the best we can do, McGregor, this time is
Let me speak for can I speak for myself on this, please?
Yes, fine.
Go ahead, McGregor.
Yes. Things are very strange. Everyone has just noticed that there's not been a launch since November 1st. Me and a small circle of friends noticed a while ago, but most people don't sit around waiting for the next launch like I do. So it has been extraordinary. There has been none, and there has been no discussion of it. There has been one article was printed in Jakarta, Indonesia from a wire service, but nobody else picked it up, saying the US has paused their tests because of tensions with China. It hasn't been confirmed or repeated. So my position on this, because everybody's asking me why, the answer is we don't know, and we don't want to waste time speculating. But what I do know is that we protested on November 1st. There was me, Diana, Lotus Fong of WILPF, and Leah at that launch that they shot down. It was a dud. It was on November 1st, day of the dud, and they haven't done one since. Yeah. Most people think they're not doing it because everyone in the world is paying attention to ICBMs right now. If they had a second failure, they would look bad. That's a very powerful motivation for high-ranking generals, is to not look bad. And we think that is the most likely reason for the pause, based on human behavior and ego in general, because it would look very embarrassing to shoot down 2 of their own missiles back to back. Somebody will be writing something about this soon. But the important thing to note here is that the interest in ICBMs right now is all of a sudden very high. And people are asking me more questions than I can answer. So I'm going to work with diffuse nuclear war.
We can't hear you, McGregor.
Sorry.
What happened?
Oh,
Okay.
so she's cutting herself off. She's the timekeeper.
No,
Well,
no,
thanks, McGregor, for the update.
that's a stupid thing to do.
That's all right. I think we know enough.
She was in
Diane's
the middle of a sentence.
Well,
Let me
it
finish
was,
the sentence.
nobody did it. Robin, nobody here did it.
No. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
I was explaining that there's so many questions, it's wearing me out. I want to put on an educational webinar that's basically what the heck is going on at Vandenberg or some translation. So all the people who want to know can come and talk to the people who have interesting ideas. And I think it would be very well attended and add to the discourse, deepen the understanding. So I'll work on that with diffuse nuclear war and keep you guys posted. That's it.
Great, thanks.
I had a question, like, couldn't they have had something you didn't know about? They don't, are you sure? Because you're not there.
Very
Okay.
loud.
It's very loud, and there's lots of people who live there. Scott Fina from Santa Maria sees them go up every time. It's loud and it's visible. It cannot be hidden.
Okay.
Just
And
can't.
they put out a warning so that people will know it's just a test. Other
Yes.
countries.
It's a Hague agreement that you issue a warning 72 hours in advance so that it's not misunderstood. So, but just from the sound and the light, they can't do it secretly. Everybody sees it. Everybody talks about it. Lompok's a small village. It's, oh, the crews are in. Yeah. They're in the same motel I stay at when I go there. When I stay at a nicer one, they don't stay at the Motel 6. So anyway, that's it.
But aren't there huge war games going on between Korea and Japan and the U.S. and threatening China right now? Isn't that happening right now?
Yes, RIMPAC, it's called. It's incredibly long. It's something like 260 days out of 167 days of the year spent in these military huge. It kills turtles, crushes coral. RIMPAC. Anne Wright. Look for Anne Wright's material. She'll tell you about RIMPAC.
Yeah, we noted that in the
I know
last
you know.
meeting. So, fine, okay, but nevertheless, we will be there in the afternoon on June the 5th, and there'll be a man from the Marshall Islands talking, and we'll record it on my iPhone if nothing else, McGregor. And
No,
Ellen,
that'd be good. No, that's
Ellen
good.
yeah, Ellen
that-
can help edit it, and we'll get it posted and what have you.
That
Thank
sounds
you.
great. That sounds great.
Okay, campaign reports, unless there's something else about diffuse nuclear war, we'll move on. To,
Yeah.
yes,
I could give a report that we are holding a meeting next Sunday at 3:00, sponsored by the group that we are affiliated with here in Burlington called Vermont Peace Action Network. And it will be showing the film television event, which is based on the film that was shown in 1983 about the day after. So we're showing that film. We're having two speakers. One is Charlotte Dennett, that many of you know, our WILF person, and also a guy named Jim Carrier, who is quite an interesting guy, a very productive writer of books, and he has been going to these international sessions where all the people who want to spend the money that has been handed on to nuclear industries are gathering together to figure out how to use the money and spend it. It's called the National Deterrence Summit. So it's quite appalling, his experience there, and he will be one of the speakers for us next Saturday. So I'm trying to bring the people of Vermont, and there are not that many, but there are some, to get them energized to see that we are facing an incredible threat in the buildup of our government to move forward with nuclear development, and that saying that plutonium pits have to be revised because they get worn out. Well, that's bogus. We've been learning that from the various nuclear agencies, that they don't wear out, but we're spending zillions of dollars in terms of the money spent in recent appropriations. So anyway, we are trying to get active on that, and I hope everyone else is also.
Okay. Thank you, Robin.
No comment.
Hello, Peggy. Nice to see you. You're on mute. We have gotten down to item 5 on the agenda, current campaigns. And the first one is continue to press for disarmament, report on the Nuclear Abolition Strategy Conference on May 4th that Cheryl helped to organize. There's a link in the agenda to the recording of the main room, and which also had a breakout room, and there are links in the description of that.
Well, can you tell us about it?
Yeah, Cheryl's gonna do that. I just wanted to tell you that if you want to see all of the breakout rooms, you can see the links in the description of the main breakout room down below the headline.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Cheryl.
All right. So this was the idea of a man called Peter Bergel out of Oregon, who feels that the movement, the anti-nuclear movement, is not growing, is not doing its best work. And so this 2-hour meeting was about how to improve our movement, how to strengthen our movement, how to raise funds for our movement. And we had 70 people register, about 45 came, including people like Joseph Gerson, Alan Ware, Daryl Kimball, Ira Hefland, all what I would consider the major players in the anti-nuclear.
Yeah.
Pardon?
Kevin Martin.
Kevin Martin from Peace Action. So a really stupendous group of people, and then some other people just from their small group in Oregon or New York. And so we broke up into these rooms. I facilitated a group which included the man who directed Television Event. Okay, he is the producer director of Television Event. So one of the brainstorming, so every group came up with ideas of what we should be doing. And so our group, my particular group, we came up with using movies more, because one of the criteria for the event, for how to build the movement, was whatever the strategy is, it's got to raise money. Okay, so you show this thing, Television Event. It's about the making of The Day After that was shown in 1983. That it was a dramatization of what would happen if a nuclear bomb landed in some town in the US. It's credited with changing Ronald Reagan's mind about how awful nuclear weapons are. He hadn't appreciated it till he saw this drama, but they had a hard time making it. People didn't want to show it on PBS. It was finally shown. It was shown being seen by 100 million people, he says. So he's now made this other film called Television Event, which describes the making of it and the effect it had. And so you can rent that, and that's what Robin's group is going to do. They're going to show it in a regular cinema, all right? So the point is, you get people to come, so you're educating the people, you hopefully get them to join whatever your group is that's working against nuclear weapons, and you take money from them, okay? So we felt this was an excellent movement building strategy. And so it's already been shown on PBS in quite a few PBS stations. All right. It's the kind of thing that they put on about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. It's called Television Event. So lots of ideas came out of this 45 people, and we are waiting. One of the men who helped to organize the thing, called Ward, he is supposedly listening to and taking all the notes of all the people who submitted the notes, and he's trying to categorize the ideas. And then we've made a new listserv of all the people who signed up to come, even though some of them didn't come. So there's now a Google group for these people, because they don't often talk to each other. You know, arms control doesn't talk to peace action, and so on and so forth. So we are trying to, the idea is to get these people to talk to each other. And I see McGregor showing something there. I'm not sure why. Anyway, so I felt, and everybody who went, and Ellen, you were in a different room, and McGregor was in a different room. But the feedback we've got is that it was a good meeting, a good strategy. It's the beginning of improving the movement against nuclear weapons. And as I got one of the last words back in the plenary, as I said, we are a movement. We are actually probably number-wise bigger than all those lobbyists who work for Lockheed Martin and Raytheon and are trying to get money out of the government, right? But we got to appear bigger. We got to appear more powerful. And so these are the strategies we were looking for to improve our media presence, to raise money, right? A lot of us do this for nothing, but there are ways of raising money. So that was the other thing that people were thinking. I see Judith has her hand up.
Yes, you were right on subject, which is who raised the money to do the film? Because there's no question that if you can make a film and do it well, it will promote your cause hugely and will bring in money. But first you have to have the money to make the film. How did they get the money for it?
I didn't ask that question. I'm sorry, I don't know.
Okay, that's the key
Gloria.
question.
Gloria has a question.
Gloria, you're on mute.
Yes, I'm unmuted. Here it is. I'm putting it in because it's faster. So I hope you can all read the chat. What I was talking about with this Anne Applebaum, who was very active in like the New York Review books with the big influential East Coast crowd. I forget, her husband is some important honcho who's a neoconservative or a neoliberal, whatever they're called nowadays. But anyway, look at her book. She got a Pulitzer, The Twilight of Democracy. It's a one-sided crowd. I gave you the link to her talk at Northwestern. They are apparently very pro-war at this point, very, very pro-war in Ukraine. And
Okay.
she's there raising a lot of cheers. Look how many people read her book. And it had a 4.5 out of 5. And that's because there were a few questioning, critical raters. But, you know, if we got everybody in peace activism, it takes not very long to write one of those things. And get them all working on this Anne Applebaum. Let them know that there are thinking people who don't agree with this. And also, she may be giving Zoom appearances. I know that the Chicago Humanities Festival is very pro-war. They had Rachel Maddow recently. You all know who Rachel Maddow is? Well, she was one of their darling guests. Then they also had cooking in Ukraine, you know, just like, oh, we're interested in cooking, so we're going to have to do cooking in Ukraine. Anything they can think of. And so I expect her to be there. Sometimes these things are Zooms and not necessarily that group, but you know, you could just type in Anne Applebaum and Zoom lecture or something. You can go, and a lot of them let you put in comments, you know, questions to the person. These people are going unanswered. That's part of the problem. And their arguments are not that good because they're leaving out the oligarchs and how the ones in Ukraine are ripping off their own people and no better than what they are supposedly giving them with democracy. I'm done. Don't worry, I'm done.
Thank you. That is a good strategy, Gloria, that I will feed into our gentleman who is accumulating strategies. Write reviews of books to indicate that there are a lot of people who don't agree with the conclusion of the book. Thank you. Good idea. I mean, we also want you all who've even half read Tim and Wallace's book to write reviews for that. Okay, It's
Yeah.
apparently the reviews is what keeps it, you know, live on Amazon, etc.
Warheads
you.
to Warheads to Windmills is the closest to WILPF's work and view of things that has come out. And it's really worth reading. I just ordered my second version. I gave the first to my daughter last week.
Well, that's internal communication, but we're
No,
not.
it's a book.
I know that, but I
Oh.
mean, we're talking to each other. We need to go where they're not all friendly faces, and this would be where. This book, if you put in ratings, this is where not everyone agrees with you.
Okay.
I see a comment from Martha.
Robin's got her hand up.
Yeah, okay, you're talking about Annie Applebaum, but how about the other woman who's named Annie, I believe, who has written a book about the scenario for nuclear,
Jacobson.
what's her name?
Jacobson. It was in it's in the minutes of the last meeting.
Could
She's
she,
written,
could she be a foil against Applebaum that,
That's an idea.
Well, if we could ever have the gravitas to get both of them to appear together, that would be something. But Annie Applebaum is a big celebrity. She probably charges 1,000 or 5,000 to go anywhere.
uh-huh. Well, I mean, unfortunately, it seems to me the title of this film that we're showing next Saturday and that you saw, Cheryl, television event, it's not an engaging title at all. It doesn't say anything about anything. So unfortunately, there's no appeal there, but we're trying to get an audience, and I think we will try to then promote Annie Jacobson to follow up with her film. I'm sort of afraid to watch it because I have enough nuclear anxiety as it is. Do I want to watch that?
That's the way I feel.
Well, the film hasn't been made yet.
Well, but to hear her talking about her book,
Yeah.
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Somebody told me, and now it's coming back to me, Ellen, didn't somebody say that there's been some film producer has taken an option on the book. Am I right, Ellen?
Yeah, or considering an option on the book. I'm
Right,
not sure whether it actually was taken, but yeah.
Taken, right. But this is what happens. You write the book and then maybe somebody else says, oh, let's make a movie of it. You
Well,
know,
there
anyway.
are lots and lots of things being published all over the place of people saying you've got to read this book. It's really important. And
Right.
people you
Which
wouldn't
book?
expect to be talking about it in that way are like George Will, for example.
But the Annie Jacobson's book?
Well,
No, yeah, the nuclear war, a scenario.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's taken off. There's lots
So-
of editorials
so-
about it.
Robin, at your event, have
You're read it?
several flyers. Our Oppenheimer flyer. You remember that flyer that we made to hand to people coming out of Oppenheimer film? That will be a good flyer for you to hand to people at your event, because it succinctly explains some more about nuclear weapons and what they can be doing about it.
Oh, great. Okay, has anyone watched or read the Annie Rosenbaum book?
You mean Jacobson?
Jacobson, sorry.
No, but
Yes, I'm reading it.
Oh,
I'm
you
reading it.
okay.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it's great.
I don't.
No? Why?
Because right now things are so dangerous. We have to be careful to not make enemies and demonize. And she treats North Korea as dangerous without mentioning the illegal weapons that Israel has. She talks about what Russia has done without mentioning the provocative actions of the US. It reads to me that it's anything that demonizes certain countries without an even-handed approach. I think that in the long run promotes war. There are some peace activists think that by scaring people and saying, oh, North Korea is so dangerous, we need to get rid of these weapons, that's not a good way. That's
When
the
did-
argument the people building the weapons use.
When
I
did she
listened
do
to
that in the book? Because I haven't gotten there yet.
Well,
Yeah.
she just talks about the dangers of Russia and North Korea and does not talk about the provocative conduct of NATO and the US. And I find that in the long run will become warmongering. And if she doesn't talk about Israel's weapons, that's very bad, because those secret weapons are distorting world diplomacy. They distort the entire Middle East, and they've been secret. All of the disarmament and the non-proliferation groups never mention it because they don't want to lose donations. It's the big secret. But the secret is out now. The kids have done all the research on war profiteering, and it's the same people building the Sentinel that they're doing the research on. It has shown a shining light on war profiteering from coast to coast. So we are in a good position to talk about what pork barrel horrors the Sentinel and other things are. And people only need to glance. You don't have to be an expert to see how awful it is. We don't need to frighten people. Frightening people promotes war. It makes them afraid. That's what the right does. We need to create a community. We need to promote the TPNW. We need to make it illegal and not scare people and treat North Korea as a demon when it's Israel that is the demon. And not,
Okay, can I just say that the reason I was late to this call today was that I got absorbed with 60 minutes. They were spending like 40 minutes on what North Korea, what the effort of someone who wanted to rescue North Korean people from the embassy in Spain. It was goofed up. It didn't succeed, but they were giving all this time and energy to, you know, this oppressive government of North Korea and making it seem as though this whole thing was valid. It was all totally bogus. And there was Leslie Stahl treating it as if something to watch. And of course, I got sucked in. That's why I was late. Anyway, I totally agree with you, McGregor. The demonization of North Korea is just gone beyond all limits.
Judith.
Yeah, I want to jump in and because I agree with McGregor, and I want to go one step further, which is to say that demonization is a really bad thing. But I left the first activist peace group that I got involved with because they were very anti. They were anti this, they were anti that, they were anti the other. And I stayed in about a year and a half, and then I decided that I personally, as a behaviorist, don't believe that's the right way to go. I think you should get to people with what is it you are for? What are you fighting for? And it better be positive, not to do away with something. Yes, we've got to get rid of nukes. I understand that. But I believe in offering something for, and that's what Project Enduring Peace that I'm working on is for something. It is to get a new treaty to stop international warfare. Now that's going to be really hard to do, but it can be done. And I spend time explaining to people why and how, but it's a thing that's for. And WILPF every now and then strikes me as also a little bit on the, we're again this and we're again that and we're again the other. I want to see some more of what we're for.
Well,
That's it.
I'm for Eleanor Holmes Norton's bill. And
Yeah.
that is something that
Right.
is positive. It's a
Yes.
solution, not pointing fingers.
The next thing on the agenda.
Yeah, that's why I said it.
Mhm.
And I don't have anything new to say about that, other than I'm very pleased that the Warheads to Windmills campaign is taken over working on that. And there are a lot more people now from these other groups that sort of ignored it as long as it was just coming from a bunch of hippies on the sidewalk. And now it's coming from Tim and Wallace, and that makes a difference. And he's a good writer, and he's able to expand on it in wonderful ways in Warheads to Windmills, the book. Anybody have anything to say about Norton's bill? Oh, I do want to thank Eileen Kurkowski for her 2 petitions that she sent in with signatures on them from May 4th, I believe it was. And I want to encourage everybody to start circulating the petition again. It sort of died off during the pandemic, and Eileen's been basically the only person who's been sending them to me, so.
And that's the petition to the president and
And
the
the
Senate
Senate.
to,
Mhm. I'll put the
uh,
link in the chat.
yes, thank you.
Am I on mute?
No.
I would like more on that because I've been doing just a little bit on Facebook about the Norton bill, but I don't really have any backup or any connection to, I don't have that petition. I don't have any where to send things, or is there an online petition?
Yes, I'm going to put the online petition in the chat. I just put prop1.org is the history of and information at the top is what's current, and
Well,
yeah.
I post links to that, but I haven't had anything to ask other people to take action on.
Do you drill down and give her the actual petition, please, Ellen?
Yes, I will right now.
Thank
You have to
Right.
kind of dig around in Prop 1. There's a lot of stuff there.
Yeah, I'll put it. So report
There is a petition.
actions within our various coalitions. Cheryl et al., is that something that you're ready to do, Cheryl, as you walk away? I'm sorry.
No. That's my husband calling me. He's on his way back from Stockton, where he's been playing a Mother's Day concert. I have nothing to say. I'd like to go to the 4th interacting with the media
Okay,
and get this flyer that Gloria and I have spent quite a lot of time on, which I sent to you all with the agenda, which I hope you looked at it. Let me show you. It ends up with 4 columns, okay? And depending on how you fold it, you can have this picture on the front, a young person being sucked up by a drone, and then statements here about what weapons can do to you. And then you open it up, and then you see a list of how you get new information on where you won't have to work on military stuff. And then here's the WILPF logo with why we want people not to go work on nuclear weapons. And then how having a security clearance can affect your life on the back. So that's if you fold it that way, or you can fold it so this is the first thing a person you would hand this to would see, okay? And then they open it up, and then because it's all about looking for your first job, okay? This is to be handed to engineering students as they are graduating from their college. It was made specifically for the people in the Tucson area because Gloria's worried that they're all going to go work for Raytheon. Okay.
It owns the town. One of our mayors was at Raytheon. I mean, they control
Anyway.
this. It's not a if.
Right. So
Our PS is below Raytheon, office above them.
right. But I've made this as general as possible. It could be used anywhere. Okay. There's a lot of ideas of I found all the job boards where there are jobs for beginning graduates of engineering. We've suggested different jobs for companies, depending on what kind of engineering you do.
Excellent.
And then down here, there's lots of national labs, like where I used to work, the Slack National Lab, nothing to do with military stuff. And then at the very bottom, I went and looked up government agencies. Yes, there's a lot of acronyms on here, but these young people should learn how to Google and find out.
They know how to do that.
That's great. That flyer is
I have a second part to this, and you just received it in your email. That is the proposed dissemination plan. I hope you did receive that. It isn't in our, now Cheryl, maybe you could share it. I don't know. I mailed it out.
You
on
mailed it
screen.
out after we all came in the meeting, Gloria, so
Yeah, well,
I'm
I'll
not
just, I can share it on my screen.
Mhm.
So can I share screen?
Ellen, can she share screen? I think she can.
Yes, yes.
I don't see where, okay, well, maybe I can.
So
Okay.
the idea is the first idea was these colleges and universities near you have public lectures where the public's invited to come listen about some scientific or engineering topic. And in the audience, hopefully there are some of their students. Okay. And so you try to engage some of those students. You find out who's about to graduate, or even if they're not about to graduate, and you engage them in this idea of not going to work for a weapons manufacturer, and that maybe that's all they've ever heard about. You know, I know that in many universities, the mentoring that they do of their students, especially as their graduate students, they all want them to become professors in academia. But in fact, virtually all the students are going to end up working in industry or for the government. So this is, you go to these public lectures.
May I say beyond what you're saying, this is what you can do as a dissemination plan. Sorry to step on your last words there.
Okay. Carry
But,
on.
You know, this is the internal communications, sending it out to the branches. And Cheryl and I know you, Ellen, have umbrella lists that are allied groups, and we want to really appeal to them to use this, make some really good use of this. That's all internal in the peace community. But external, we can also make use of these flyers and make them into a post so that it can go on our webpage. We can appeal to our members to put them on their personal Facebook pages, the flyers. And in social media, there's Instagram, there's, I don't know what else we have. But I had a colleague who's my friend here in Tucson, and she said not to count all that much on Facebook all the time, because the younger ones go to Instagram and Twitter and maybe other things that are more their thing. But the parents will be reading Facebook and grandparents. So we need to get this also posted and into the media, what media we can get into, as well as personal handouts. That's my point, is it's not just having it in your purse, which I do, and handing it out, but all these other places that it can be put. But really hitting up the other allied groups, that's important too.
Gloria, I was unable to capture your Google URL there. Can you put it in the chat?
I don't have a Google URL for that.
I'm sorry, it's set up at the top, Google, I thought.
It was a Google Doc, but I don't have.
Can you
It
give
came
us
to you.
access to
What
it?
I will
Can you give
do
us
is-
access to it
what I
in
will
addition
do
to
is
having shown it?
I will make it into a file. I couldn't say the word file. I'll make it in a file. I'll send it to you, Joan.
Well,
Right,
I think other people want to see it too.
Yeah, I also want to see it. I want a copy.
It came with the agenda. It came with the agenda. Please go look
Okay,
at your
thank
email.
you.
Yeah, I thought you
No,
meant the
that's the
distribution.
flyer. That's the flyer. I'm talking about her thing that she just showed us.
Yeah.
You're talking about her plan. That's
Yeah,
an
I'll
email.
I'll make it into an attachment. Everybody, you got it? Attachment.
Thank you.
Okay,
I'll do
thank
it right now.
The flyer is wonderful, but we
Thank you.
want to
But this is
see
different. I'll
what you
make
just
this
showed
an
us.
attachment.
We want
Okay, I
access.
understand now. Joan
Thank
is
you.
after the, okay.
Thank
So
you.
have we permission to use this? It's identified as a WILPF thing.
Yes.
Why
And
would we not? Why would we not have permission? What are you talking about?
Well, somebody thought we needed permission to use this. We don't always seek your permission, but hopefully you think this is a good thing. I thought this last sentence that I made up the other night: your engineering degree is your passport to a marvelous life. Use it for peace and freedom.
Ah, good.
Very good, very
Yeah.
good.
I am on Instagram and I would like to quote parts of it. And I hope that will be okay. And when I do, I will mention that it's put out by WILPF.
Yeah, yeah. Mhm. Thank you. Mhm. All right, Martha, actually, Martha had to run.
Do
Okay,
we need to vote to,
no, I
Yeah,
think,
let's do.
okay,
well, I think we can say it's by consensus. I don't hear any of the,
Yes.
any objections.
yes. Great.
So Gloria, you had, your second thing was about the community advisory board.
Oh,
Can you-
just fast. Yeah, I can do that in a few sentences. As most of you know, and it's in bits and pieces, I realize, but Tucson is virtually controlled by Raytheon. It is getting more and more into all of our organizations in town, churches, schools. You know, people who work there bring their values into all these places. It is so bad that our PBS media channels have just moved into a much more palatial space off campus. And we have an engineer, a missile engineer already on the community advisory board, but they also have the headquarters of Raytheon in Tucson is on the floor right above our PBS station in the same new building. Raytheon, PBS, like that.
Okay.
I'm giving you time to think about that, what that means. So meanwhile, people say, oh, I've given up on the media, and I have to answer them, but the media has not given up on you or on Tucson. So I've been after our local branch, and they haven't been really, you know, supporting me a lot, but I've been going for a year and a half or 2 years to the community advisory board meetings. We also upped our donation because that is something they care about, to PBS in Tucson, AZPM. So I was requested by the CEO of the station to submit my CV as a first step to becoming on the board with the missile engineer guy. Oh, and he was sitting right across from me. He was at the table right across from me. And if you want to see a Scrooge McDuck expression, because they always put me on the screen, Gloria McMillan, guest from WILPF.
All
So
right.
there's no hiding it. But I said, please at least add University of Arizona English department, you know, try to water it down a little. So that will be a first because everybody else apparently in the whole peace community has given up on media.
That's
And I hope they will relent on that. So at least they approved this, and I am officially approved by our local branch to do this. So
Thank you.
The
Then-
next item, are we done?
Within 1 hour.
Yeah,
I'm just announcing that we've done 1 hour. Thank you.
okay. The next item is for Eileen. Do you have anything to report on lethal autonomous weapons?
I've been swamped. No.
Okay. Promote peace via treaties. Anything to say about that?
Well, Judith had her say a bit earlier about PEP, I think, and we heard quite a lot about it at the last meeting. So I would say I don't have anything else.
I do just quickly want to report, you know, to keep you appraised. PEP is just in an infancy stage, but we now have 17 posts, 32 followers, and we are following 150 people. And all of that represents many hours worth of work. Using Instagram for entertainment is very easy and fun. Using it to promote an idea or a product is very complicated. No single step is difficult, but putting it all together is very complicated. And I'm still making some mistakes, but we are making progress. The other thing that I'm doing is preparing now about a 20-minute talk that I will give to groups here in town, women's groups or political groups, that will highlight Project Enduring Peace primarily, but I will always also mention if we can just reanimate San Diego WILPF group. That's what we're working. Diane and I are working on that right now, reanimating a San Diego WILPF group. If they get their back together and get reanimated, I will always mention them as well when I speak. So that's all the news I have.
Okay, thank you.
Collaborate with WILP sections in Africa and work against AFRICOM. Robin, do you have anything on that?
Yes, we held our Africa Day event yesterday. It was It was fun. There was dancing. We had a very good speaker from Washington, D.C. who who's very involved in immigration issues there and trying to establish temporary, what's it called, a permission for people from Congo to stay in the United States and work while they're getting their whole amnesty thing set up. And so that was good. We didn't manage to make that much connection to the WILF sections in Africa, but I'm very aware that certainly the Cameroon's issue we should be focusing on, and other branches of WILF or other committees of WILF are concerned about that, on even talking about a delegation going to Cameroon. What an incredible idea. Partly because our international president is from the Cameroons, right, at the moment. So, and just to talk about a few other things, if I may, maybe this isn't the moment, but the gathering, the WILF gathering is going to happen the second week of August, and on Eileen's suggestion, I contacted Michael Ippolito to come up to Vermont. And, you know, this guy has a wealth of information, not just about his work with WILF, but about peace efforts over the last couple of decades and where are they going. So I'm really looking forward to that. He said he could come. We haven't nailed down the date, but that will be an event happening this August.
I'm glad you got to finally talk with each other. Yeah, he's doing a lot of hard work with Brockton High School. Major problems there, which I've shared, I think, a bit too much. And I think you'll enjoy him. He is a Jabberwocker, but you can
What does that mean?
help but appreciate what he offers.
What is
He
it?
talks a lot,
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
but if you ask him to not talk so much, then he doesn't get.
backs off a bit.
Yeah,
He-
we're
he
inviting
is a
you to
good
come, but
listener.
don't talk so much. Yeah, thanks.
He's a good listener. It just doesn't give you much chance to talk.
So, okay, thank you, Robin.
We're-
I
we're
must
working
admit,
on it.
I'm not sure what is it that's going on in the Cameroon that we should be worried about?
Well, there's a war there, and Cameroon is one of the countries in Africa that's divided between French speaking and English speaking. I believe our section is the English speaking section, but coming across the southern border, the African people, a large number of African people that are coming, or what I've read is there's a number of Cameroonian people coming. There aren't people from Congo, there aren't people from Uganda, but Cameroon's is in big trouble. And therefore, I think the fact that we have a section there and a president, isn't she the international president now? Yeah. Is something we really need to support. And this woman, Kim Poole, are you all in touch with her? Who's become a WILF member recently? And she's on another network of WILF, but she was going to go there and then didn't go there, but she's keeping us advised as to what's happening there.
Okay, I must say, yeah, I know there's a war going on in the Sudan. I had not, you know,
And
but nevertheless,
Ethiopia.
yeah, well, several in Africa, but I was not aware that there was. So I will Google it and find out later. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
The gathering is described in the minutes of the last meeting.
All right.
Please, if you want to know what happens and how much it would cost you room and board, look in the minutes, please, of the 28th of April meeting. Thank
Okay.
you.
All are invited.
Thank you, Robin. As usual. You're so gracious.
Work with other issue committees and working groups. Do we have anything in there that we have anybody here that
Only item C, because
no
Eileen,
tornado? Yeah.
yeah, Eileen has been working with the Walk for Peace people.
I sure have. Boy, I just went out and shopped a lot. I picked up 80 bagels, got some peanut butter and jelly for those, and then I had some chicken, and so I said, well, let's do a chicken casserole. I've talked, basically what I'm doing is I'm going to be bringing some food to 3 sites that they're stopping and staying in the Boston area. One is at the Friend's House in Cambridge. The second is, well, it starts at the Cambridge a vigil on the Commons. Well, I guess it's the Commons of Cambridge, not far from Harvard. Then they're crossing south, crossing the Charles River to do a vigil at the State House in Boston. From there, you walk about 15-20 minutes to the community church, which is a center for progressives. And they'll be sleeping there after having a meal at 6, which I'm providing food for. And the talk will be at 7. The next day, they'll be walking to Wellesley. That will take a few hours, to the Friends Church there. And that will be, well, a combination. Ginger Harris, our secretary of WILPF, is coming with her significant other, bringing some food, as I am, and to stay for the talk. Then they head to one of my favorite places, south, for its art gallery, Attleboro, and then they'll be heading to Providence and to a new state. I won't get involved with Attleboro this time. I'm broke.
Well, thank you, Eileen. That's great, because we did, you know, we are officially a co-sponsor of this peace walk, which is a peace action. And we've given you, maybe not in this agenda, but in the minutes of previous meetings, there's a peace walk. The URL to their whole organization, who's organizing this, is in the agenda. So if you want to, and the point is they're working their way towards DC. They're going to end up there just before the No to NATO summit events on the 6th and 7th of July. And Diane, I can never remember which state your house is in. Is it Virginia or is it Maryland?
Virginia.
It's Virginia. Oh, good. Because I said Virginia in the minute, and I was. So Diane, as you will recall, has graciously said she has beds in her house. If you can make it to this No to NATO gathering on the 6th and 7th of July in Washington, D.C. She lives a metro ride from the center of D.C. And again, we are a co-sponsor of this No to NATO event. And hopefully what they call the DVM, DC, Virginia, Maryland chapter is going to have a presence, right, Diane?
It's DMV, like
DMV.
like Division of Motor Vehicles. They say the same thing. Yeah. So yeah, definitely. Uh-huh.
Okay. I see Robin has a hand up.
Robin.
Yeah, so let's see, what was I going to bring up? That go to the next and I'll remember. I got this.
Okay, on this list, on number 8, report on arrangements for virtual WILPF US Congress. Please register to attend. That's just a reminder to register. I've
that Eileen and I are going to be leading this workshop on conflicts over water, 1:15 Eastern time on the Saturday. And I please, everybody, you should be registering. It's $55 for the 5 days, or if you could only afford less, then just come to Saturday. And so you will hear what we have discovered. There have been conflicts over water for literally thousands of years, since they've documented them from since like 2000 BCE, okay, right to the current time. And this man, Mr. Gleich, who apparently went to Yale with my husband, and my husband knows him. Anyway, that was years ago. He has, documented this, and then he has ideas for preventing conflict, because that's what, WILF tries to do, is to prevent conflict. And so we will be having it's a 15-minute video, and then we'll have like half an hour to engage anybody who's come to the Zoom. And so Eileen and I have still got to discuss what we're going to say. Neither of us have looked at the film for a while, so she and I have got work to do towards making a useful Q&A and encouraging people after the event. So, and also
Anne
just
points out something that I have to plug in here because it is so important. There's conflict going on within our own United States regarding, as there are within other nations. And most of it's between rural and urban areas. And it's kind of understandable. Urban demand is high. And then you've got farmers and cattle that need water as well. And so the competition is keen. And there ain't that much water. We really have to think about policies. And guess what? Peter Glick and his cohorts at the Pacific Institute are all geniuses as far as I'm concerned. They've got policies lined up, and they are kibitzing with administration and have had a lot to do with this ending of PFAS by getting the ear of President Biden. Okay.
Okay,
Right.
Robin, you have your hand raised.
Yes, and so a couple of things. I would like to go to Boston for the march, but I'm torn to go to New York State, take the boat over to New York State to gain petitions for Jill Stein. I really think this is an urgent thing to do right now to get her on the on the ballots in different states. And I know we're not meant to talk about politics here, but I am the Vermont coordinator, and so that is a concern for mine. But I'm so glad that members of our meeting are going down to take part in that march.
Robin, you're always welcome to come and stay at my place again and to participate in any action. If I were you, I'd probably choose New York, where you're going to pick up thousands of people. I'm not sure there's going to be a lot of attendees here. This part of the state is very conflicted. And when I bring up even Vets for Peace, there's quiet in the room, meaning, oh, there's Eileen going again. It's very contentious. And
Yeah.
that means people aren't showing up. I'm hoping they get it's not just the usual people that are at these talks or at the vigil. I'm having a hard time getting people out even to the vigils.
Yeah. Peggy,
So,
you have your hand up.
go where you can get the most signatures is
Okay.
my thinking,
Eileen just reminded me on the water thing. I hadn't made the connection until you spoke, but in Pritchard, Alabama, there is a big contention talking about water locally. they do not have drinkable water. It's a 90% Black community, and they are organizing and agitating, and there is it is a big issue. But I actually, it was today I addressed it and as a reparation issue, that water issues are very good reparation issues. And now this is just the way I address reparations, is that and I'm real blunt about it with Black friends, that white people, and I have to say I'm only speaking for myself, but I go on and do it, that white people are much more comfortable with reparations if we see that it is going to people who are still victims, rather than, and I say people who are worse off than I am rather than better off than I am, then I feel pretty good about reparations. And I think that gets into a lot of other things, but I think water issue is a very good thing. And it's a point where WILPF might, that WILPF has been doing this work on water issues and relating it to something like reparations. And this case in Pritchard is something to pick up on. I don't quite know what I can do more about that.
Good
Robin?
point. Thank you.
And
Robin?
could I jump in again? Because I'm involved in a workshop on sanctions and the effect of sanctions on water in some of the countries that the United States doesn't like Cuba and Nicaragua. And a couple of very knowledgeable people about sanctions, and sanctions are an act of war, is part of the Congress. So I hope that some of you will watch that. But
They just cut off the water to to one of the towns in Gaza. I just saw that today.
Wow.
Yeah, they've been, yeah. So the program, please go look at there's a schedule that just gives you, hour by hour what's going on at the Congress. Then go to the tab that says program, which is where you will learn about the speakers. You've got lovely bios of the speakers, because we have a lot of people from outside WILPF who are really expert in their fields, and then a program description. Okay, and you will see my photograph in there with one of my peace roses. So here, my peace rose, developed in 1945 to honor the end of World War II. You'll see my photograph with the peace rose. Anyway, so I think the Congress committee is to be congratulated on the program they've put together. And last time I asked, there were only like 55 registrants. That was a few days ago. That's really not that. We're supposedly got 1,200 members. Where's everybody else? Why aren't they coming?
Cheryl, would you put the registration link in the chat? It's not in the agenda.
The agenda, right? I don't
And
know if I
would you
can.
send an email? Would you send an
Well, you
email?
We've gotten the link in the postcard and on the page that Cheryl's talking about. And the deadline is probably the 14th because it says before the 15th.
To
But the
get the
cheaper
cheap
rate.
For
rate.
the $55 registration. It will be more later.
We don't-
75, it goes up to 75 after that. Yeah,
Well, it's not a huge amount more, but it's good to have that deadline and
If
get
you
it
have a
done.
little
folks.
extra, the committee would appreciate any extra donation, as always.
Diane?
I was just going to say that WILPF US has, I think, 1,200 members, and the Jane Addams branch alone has over 500.
So could you send them a reminder,
Wow.
Diane? Your 500 people,
Oh, yeah.
please. And because we do this every 3 years, and we did it virtually 3 years ago. It really does work. And I'm one of the people trying to help with the IT and the Zooming. But we've all we've all got a lot more comfortable and knowledgeable about Zoom in the past 3 years. So I'm hoping it will go smoothly. Okay, so in fact, if you just wanted, oh, well, no, never mind. I'll come
Okay,
back to the,
I'm
yeah.
putting something in the chat with a link from.
Thank you, thank you.
About the Congress, I could just say something. I'm involved with George Friday in 2 workshops for training for trainers for, racial justice.
Mhm.
And she's trying to get 10 different branches to commit to have 2 people go to these trainers. I beat the bushes here and finally did get one person, Jean Hopkins. Some of you may know she's involved with some other committees, but it was not that easy. But I think this is a very important issue, and George Friday is an excellent leader, and I'm looking forward to it. And is anyone else on this call involved with that?
Not at the moment.
No, the timing was conflict. I've been in several trainings. My UU church has been giving them, and we have follow-up talks from experts and further discussions. It's been very enriching. That's why I joined a Black reading group and got involved with Brockton, which is predominantly people of color and immigrants.
Mm-hmm.
I pledged years ago, 5 years ago,
Mhm.
to work on this issue every single week. And I
Wow.
did.
That's great, Eileen. Thank you.
Okay, moving along, we have problems with radioactive waste, working with ANA in the spring meeting, 19 to 24 May. And there's a link to how you can register in the agenda. Pam is not here. She's the lead, but I think Martha, if she's still here,
Martha's
looks like
gone.
she's gone.
But
I think
But it's
Martha's
all,
running.
yeah, we've dealt with this in previous meetings. It's in the
Okay.
minutes.
All right.
Thank
Okay,
you.
get institutions and individuals to divest. Do we have anything that we want
Okay,
to?
I was just going to mention this 29th of April webinar that WILPF Detroit was a co-sponsor of this webinar. The speaker was William Hartung from the Quincy Institute. Very knowledgeable gentleman. He's been working since 1979 on militarism. The actual topic was peace versus profits reigning in the arms lobby.
Oh, good.
So it was, I took a lot of notes, but a couple of things I didn't know. Peter Thiel, Thiel, he's a huge Trump supporter. So, pay attention to what he's doing. He says that people in the tech industry tend to be libertarian in their thinking more than maybe people in the fossil fuel industry or other industries. There's something called the Replicator Initiative. A lady called Kathleen Hicks. I'm just, the F-35, right? We've all heard about this. The F-35, it took 23 years from the first idea to actually the first plane being made. And as you know, they don't work very well. And there's an enormous amount of money being spent on them. And the Congress keeps saying, yeah, you can have some more money. Yeah, you can have some more money. So these are the kind of things that we've been paying attention, and it's all to do, having us divest from some of these companies will tell them we're not happy with what they're doing. And Ukraine, we heard about this in a previous meeting here. Ukraine is buying drones from China as they don't like the US drones. And I'm not talking about drones, I'm talking about drones, right? So that isn't that strange that China, a lot of these
Raytheon, they're gonna be so sad.
Yeah, there's a lot of this, arms sales is just profit driven, right? But unfortunately, they have this out of proportion influence on Congress
Yes,
and our foreign policy, right? So that's why this is all important, and we've got to show our
May I say a fast word? It's driven by the rhetoric of glowing abstractions like democracy, freedom. You have to pay attention to that. It isn't just economic, it's rhetoric. And as long as people do not know how to analyze abstractions like that to separate themselves from it, that's what we need to help people to do too. We should have a flyer on that.
well, let's think about
Well,
that.
By the way, I was listening to a podcast about this kind of rhetoric that you've brought up so many times, Gloria. And the Asian man who sounds, he's right on your wavelength, uses the word, it's all about the stories our nations tell itself and others. It's the stories. And somehow people relate a little bit, rhetoric, some people don't know what that really is, but stories they get. Stories called democracy, stories like communism, and how we have to help everybody. And anyway, that I found that kind of interesting.
Yes.
a couple of other points from Mr. Hutton's talk. He says the US, we sell arms to both sides in conflicts. We're just, we'll sell arms to whoever needs them, even if they're on opposite sides in some conflict. He did talk quite a lot about the young people demonstrating against the war in Gaza, and he's hoping, as I think, or we have said this in previous meetings, a lot of these young people have not done anything political, in their lives, but this particular issue has really got them going, right? And they're sitting in their encampments in their universities and making trouble, unfortunately, sometimes making, violent trouble, but hopefully,
Very
hope-
rarely.
yeah, hopefully they will continue in their activism, right? So let's say eventually this Gaza-Israel war will be resolved. Now, will these young people just go back to their engineering classes and forget that they could have an effect on other things? We hope not, but it's our job as older people, I suppose, to make sure that we keep them in the activism sphere. All right. And another way he said to deal with all this lobbying is to reduce the size of the military, of the personnel in the military. Okay, we've got the US Army, Navy, Air Force. They have so many people who come in to be in the military, and that enables the US to have 800 bases, as we've all heard about before. So by reducing, somehow they're getting the less people willing to serve in these military parts of the military, US Navy, etc., then the US won't have as many people to service the 800 bases. So us getting the young people not to go into the military is another strategy we should be looking at. Okay. And then he talked about the cost of an aircraft carrier, $13 billion. And aircraft carriers are not really very good. They need a whole bunch of other ships around them because they cannot defend themselves. Anyway, and the last thing he said is, and this is similar to what we were talking about at our strategy meeting last the May the 4th, is we need to make being part of a movement fun, okay, and enjoyable, and have everybody feel like it's a nice thing to do. And sometimes, as in our Congress, I believe we're going to have some dance parties and some poetry and things like that. So we have to try to do what we're doing with some happiness associated with it. Okay. I see Peggy has a hand up.
Well, I had two responses to what others were saying. On the point about stories, I read something recently, and I can't cite it, but the term narrative, and the establishment uses the term narrative. We have to control the narrative. And that's people like whatever her name is, Biden's press secretary and Rachel Maddow types. But the other thing I wanted to say was in relation to the drones. I saw something today that the IDF had done friendly fire, and that I think it was 40% of the drones were Israelis shooting down Israelis. And it occurred to me, and I responded to the story, that I don't know this, but it certainly looks like it's beta testing on one hand and marketing on the other hand. And I think a lot of that is exactly what it is beta testing these corporations things, and they beta test out where they can. Have any of you ever gone to one of these weapons shows?
No, but
heard
what
about
I've read about them is that their materials sell better if they've been out in the field in
Right.
and that's, I think, your point.
Yeah.
So where did you read about this friendly fire and IDF soldiers being?
I think it may be on I'm on an e-lit. I don't know. I can't remember where it was. It's on an I'm on if I go, do you want me to send it to you?
Yes, because it's one of these, you have to be really careful where your information's coming from.
This was very reliable. I know where it came. I mean, I know the person who sent me the email.
Right, but where they're learning about it from somewhere.
And he's a person who double checks.
Okay, so please, yes, do send it to the Disarm discussion list.
Okay.
The use of drones, I mean, this, the IDF, has control of the internet in Gaza. You've heard in the past 7 months, sometimes the whole internet will go down, okay, and then it'll come back, and they are monitoring. They know because they know so and so this Hamas terrorist has an iPhone. They could track those iPhones. Why do they bomb certain buildings? Because they know there's a terrorist in there from his iPhone, okay, and then they have drones looking around, and so it's all using technology to generate what's going on in the war and this. But we have Biden finally saying, we don't want you to invade Rafah, but they are. We're not going to send you any more weapons. Did you read about? I just printed out that 2,000-pound bomb that he won't send them anymore.
That's nice.
What a 2,000-pound bomb will do? I have it printed out here. It goes through like 3 meters of concrete. Its explosion radius is enormous.
That's what they have been sending.
Yeah, it's what they've been sending. Even people who aren't in the blast area will get ear problems from the noise. I mean, it's just, of course we don't want them to send any weapons, but anyway, Biden is finally, saying, no, we're not going to send you any more of those. So, excuse me. Okay, I think, can we go on to the I see we're losing people left, right, and center. Can we go on to the can we go into 6? Ellen, can you tell us how much money we've got?
Yeah,
You're muted, Ellen.
and frozen. Ah, great. She's going to screen share. Ooh, hard to read, hard to sort out what this means. What's this D and E sections?
Oh, okay, and what's the summary after three?
Ellen, you need to read, take us through this.
I'm
You're
sorry,
muted.
I was muted. I apologize. Okay, so I had no idea we had this much money at the beginning of the year, $3,469.74. I assume that includes the $400 that you get at the beginning of each year that will be used if you use everything else up. So we've never really used it except for a couple of years here previously when we were flush. It was being paid by National, but I think that National, it paid the Alliance for Nuclear Accountability dues and perhaps Black Alliance for Peace and World Beyond War dues, but we paid $200 that hasn't showed up here to Alliance for Nuclear Accountability for a student scholarship that was arranged at, I forget, was it Pam's request? So $3,719.74 less $942 for McGregor, or no, for O'Deal.
O'Deal.
Yeah, for O'Deal. So what would that be?
So what do we have to subtract? What from what?
37.1970 and 74
37?
cents. 37.
It says 34.
Yeah, but then there's 250 that came in.
That I gave, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's 37,
19,
19 minus
942.
942, right? So that's 2777. But it says, okay, so yes, 2777, 2,777. You think is what we got?
And
Okay.
72 cents. Yeah.
So McGregor has left as she said she would, but she is telling us she had, she had an agreement with her family that she would spend so many dollars on her WILPF activities this year. And she's already used that up, all right? We're only to May. And so she's saying, she had a mini grant proposal, but the mini grant committee is not working. We don't have one at the moment. And she says, every time she goes down to Lompoc for these launches and demonstrations, it's like, it's $100 on trains and
So
things.
how much is she asking for?
Well, she said she wanted her original proposal for all of this was 5,000. But I'm just seeing if we're this flush, I'm just saying to myself, well, at least let us give her 500 or something to help these expenses. Is
Okay, we don't have a quorum here. Do we just make the decision? It looks like Diana's gone too.
No, why don't we just
there
give
you are.
her her expenses, say we'll cover her until at some time.
right. I
As
don't.
long as it's not more than $500 per trip or something.
I forget.
Well,
This,
but there's also the comparison with what was given to O'Deal.
What's that? How much was that?
That
that was
$1,000.
$942 because she had to fly to New York and we stayed in a room together to cut down the cost, etc. For this June the
But it
5th
looks as
event,
if that was a donation from you, Cheryl.
I gave $250. Be careful, it's the I column you're looking for. The H column is some kind of accounting name. It's the I column that you need to look at for the number. So yeah,
Well,
I
it's
gave
covered up
250.
with the pictures of all the people who were on the call.
Okay,
So-
so you need to change the width of your screens, everybody. If you Can't see
Oh, look
everything?
at that. Makes
Okay,
it
you know
really
how to do
nice and
that?
small.
Okay, so I just think, 500 is a nice round number.
Right.
Per trip.
And
Love it.
not per trip, just to help her with what she's done already and
Yes.
what she anticipates, okay? I don't
Yeah.
think it's 500 per trip. I think it's just,
100,
it'll help.
100 per trip.
So when for June the 5th, I happen to have my timeshare as a resort, half an hour drive from Lompoc. So I have booked one night in Solvang, which is the Danish little
All
town
right.
that pretends to be Danish. So I've
Cool.
got a room that will sleep 4. We'll have to share some beds, but so she's going to she's going to come and share a room that'll save her. Even staying in Motel 6 costs her $100. So
Oh, yeah.
anyway, I think there's enough of us here to make some decision. What do you think, Treasurer?
I have no problem with that.
Right.
$500
Right.
in reserve for expenses.
So do we
Oh,
need a motion? How do we do a consensus thing?
we ask if anybody objects.
Okay. Does
Right.
anybody object to our designating $500 to McGregor for expenses?
No objection here.
No, we should.
All right. Okay, fine. So Diane, would you make sure the minutes show that?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you. And so we're richer than we thought. That's great. So can we go? All right, new website.
There's
All
a
right.
couple $100. There's a couple $100 though that to be taken off of that 2007.
Right. It's pretty
So
good.
we're a lot richer than we thought we were.
Right, good. So anyway, 3 of us, Ellen, Diane, and I worked very hard on to refresh our WILPF Disarm website. We were doing it because we were promised a brand new website, right? You've heard this story. We've been waiting for 3 years for this brand new website. So in the end, we said, oh, let's just put the new text on the old current website. And so Glenn Ruger earlier this week did that. I tested it, made sure everything's there. And in particular, I want you to pay attention. There are 6 resource guides. Okay. They are refreshed resource guides. So we wrote these resource guides 3 years ago. Things have changed. And so the 6 you will see there are refreshed and up-to-date resources. Templates for letters, information on the Middle East, all about the TPNW and the comparison with the NPT. So that's you go there, it's a PDF and you can download it to your computer, but it gives you our mission, our goals, our values. And I think personally, it's very good. I said to Glenn when I told him he could make it live, I said, please archive the old one. So indeed, he has a place where he puts the whole website as it was for the last 4 years. Okay. So WILPF does have an archive where old things are placed that some people in the know how to find. Okay. So,
Great.
right. And then
Yay.
thank you, Joan. So I'd just like to move on to the next one, which is setting our committee meeting. So you'll notice it should be the last Sunday in May, which would be the 26th. The whatchamacallit, Congress starts on the 29th. And knowing me, I shall be still preparing my poster. So I would really like us to not have a meeting on the 26th, because for me to do the agenda and the minutes of the previous meeting and the agenda probably takes me 8 or 9 hours. Okay. All told. when
Yeah.
I consider how long it takes me to do these things. So that 8 or 9 hours would be better spent on my preparation for Congress.
So you want to not have a second meeting?
I want not to have a meeting on Sunday, May the 26th.
Which
I
is Memorial Day weekend, by the way, in
Yes.
case it makes a difference to anybody.
Yes. And of course, my daughter arrives from Paris the day before, but that actually has nothing to
Whoa.
do with this.
Whoa.
So because she comes and she goes off and visits with her high school friends. Anyway, so is that all right, Ellen and Diane, my co-chairs?
Absolutely.
Sure, June
Because,
9th is the next one then,
say that again. It will be June
9th.
9th. Yes, June 9th. Okay. So I would really like you all to register and attend the Congress. Okay. So consider your duty not to come to this meeting, but to go to the Congress.
Yeah.
Is how I would put it. Now, of course, we've got the discussion listserv. People are still, sending us things. Please read all that, because you learn things, what's going on and what we'd like you to. Oh, and the other thing, of course, is to read your e-news. We go to a deal of effort, the 3 co-chairs, to make sure every e-news there is something from Disarm. Okay. So please look at your e-news that came 4 or 5 days ago. There's a lovely article about Robin in there. Thank you very much for your legacy fund.
Okay.
And lots of other interesting things. And our e-news, we try to get all of WILF to do things and pay attention to what's going on. So please always read your e-news. And Joan, Diane and Ellen, the next deadline is the 24th of May. She does. I actually find dealing with this editor a little annoying. She gives you this deadline, you send her the stuff, and she replies about 5 days later. Oh, thank you. Our previous editors would reply within a few hours. Thank you, Cheryl. Yes, I've got it. It really bothers me that I have an editor that waits 5 days, having given me a very hard deadline.
Okay.
But then apparently,
maybe she only shows up a couple of times a week.
yeah, I don't know.
Well-
My impression, she does not read her email very often.
Okay.
She may be like
Anyway.
that. Robin?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Gloria and Cheryl for emphasizing visiting or connecting with engineering departments. And I plan to do that. And I think doing that this week, next week, or whatever, when school is closing, maybe they've already closed. But we can get this flyer. It's on the website under Disarm, or where is it?
The flyer came to you as an attachment to the
Oh.
email with the agenda early this
Okay,
morning.
excellent. And so
And it's
From Cheryl, from Cheryl.
It's a PDF, and I explain in the settings of when you print it, the settings in your print function to make sure it comes out, and then it's up to you. It's up to you whether you fold it so this is on the front or you fold it so this is on the front.
Okay.
But you do, Robin, you do need to do something so it's not upside down on one side of the paper.
Yeah, and that's why it's print. It says flip on the long edge,
Okay,
which is
there
the way
go.
you would normally
Flip
do
on
it.
the long edge. Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Flip on the long edge is the default.
Okay.
The agenda, every time I do the agenda for this, I really make sure it's only on 2 pages so you can all print it onto one sheet.
Thank you.
So anyway, so these, and you could do it in
okay.
black and white. I think you'll find it works in black and white.
Okay.
Because
But
there's so much.
Eileen's got her hand raised.
Finding the engineering department, I suppose, I just have to figure out where that is and how to go there and get someone to go with me and
Yeah.
Is anyone else going to their engineering department?
Gloria's original idea was to go to public lectures. That many of these universities have public lectures. I know SLAC does, for example, and Stanford has. And so you go to these lectures, which are open to the public, you take some of these flyers with you, and maybe you'll realize there's some young people there, and you try and engage them in conversation and hand them the flyer.
Yeah,
That was the original idea. Gloria has now sent us a different set of things to do, which is now when you log off, you'll see a listserv with her distribution plan that you all asked for. There's a
Cool.
distribution plan in the in your email when you get off from this call.
I always feel insecure because I don't see where I say copy the chat. I don't know how to copy
Save the chat. Now at the top, it's moved to the top. The three little dots.
Oh,
You've got
okay.
the chat open. Do you see a little
Yeah,
three dots
yeah.
there?
Yeah.
More, and then it says
Chat.
save chat.
Yay. All right. You
But for some of us, it's still at the bottom.
That's how I
I'm a-
felt when it finally worked for me, Robin.
yeah.
So it's at the
Good.
top for some and at the bottom for others. And iPads are a mystery to everybody where they
Three
say.
dots, very subtle, 3 dots.
That's right.
Okay. Okay. Great.
And then it says more when you point at it, and then you have to click on it to get it to say save chat.
And then it goes into a directory that Zoom sets up on your computer that's called
Oh.
Zoom. All
Right.
right. So you have
Yeah,
to
by
find
the
that.
date.
To find
I
it.
have that.
And then there's a
Ay,
date.
ay,
It's again, it's one of those things I would hope after 3 years that people have got used to it. But believe me, with that meeting we had on the strategy, it was obvious that some people still don't understand how Zoom works. But anyway,
So Eileen has had her hand up for a while.
Yeah, I'd like to give some good news. At least I think it's good news. On Friday, the UN General Assembly member nations voted overwhelmingly to allow Palestine membership. And of course, it's not going to get passed through the Security Council, but I did some little homework on this. And so they will be seated among member states in alphabetical order, submit and introduce proposals and amendments, and co-sponsor proposals and amendments. So they have some privileges. that
everything
cannot be
except
taken
voting,
away.
except for voting.
That's
Right.
what I said. That requires that you be passed by the Security Council, which will get vetoed out by
Right.
Israel, United States, and whoever else.
there
Yeah.
was like 25. There was like quite a few abstentions, and
But a big
12 against it.
majority of yay. That's why it passed. I was so pleased.
Thank you, Eileen. Thank
I'll
you.
drink to that.
Right.
Yay.
Okay.
By the way, was that
Any
many
other business?
came on the call today? Is this redundant for all of you?
What?
I came on a little late. I had a call from someone I called from for the development committee.
Is
It's
what
what
redundant?
Is this the first, some people had heard of this?
I mean,
Good.
as I tell you, I look at the BBC News website 10 times a day, and so they really keep me up to date on all this, which is why this Cameroon story is
Surprise.
because surprise. So I will, go
I
look.
roomed with Sylvie, and I learned a bit in between our different hours of sleep. She was very busy, even years ago, and up at 4 a.m. to connect with her people out in Cameroon. And I knew when she was upset, things were happening even then.